The House version contains funding to combat climate change. The Senate bill, not as much. Democratic Congressman Frank Pallone is chair of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. His district includes the eastern half of Middlesex County and most of the Monmouth County shore. Welcome back to the show, Congressman.
Thank you, Alex. Good to be on again.
So what's the path forward on both chambers, the House and the Senate, for infrastructure? If the Senate deal moves forward, then what?
Well, I don't want to sound too much like a bureaucrat, Alex, but essentially there's all this stuff has to come together and sort of be negotiated, most likely in the fall, right? So there are the infrastructure bills that include other things beyond infrastructure like water and broadband. But then there's this larger reconciliation package that has all the health care and a lot more money for social programs that's going to move along with it. Right now, the Senate is doing this bipartisan infrastructure bill, and then they're going to do this reconciliation, which has the much larger projects, which is strictly a Democratic bill. And in the fall, we'll have to work this all out together between the two houses. But everything is very positive, Alex, because all this is moving in both the House and the Senate, and is very much in line with President Biden's plan to improve the economy, invest in infrastructure and research, and move the economy forward and make us more competitive globally.
For you, why is funding for electric vehicles, electric charging stations, why is that part of infrastructure?
Well, because we have to address climate, right? In other words, we know that the climate, the planet's warming, that there are all kinds of problems with sea level rise and impacts on the weather. And so we have to move away from fossil fuels, from gasoline used to power vehicles, for example, towards electric cars. And in order to have electric cars be viable, there have to be charging stations all over the country, including major parts of New Jersey. So that's an important part of it.
I read that you introduced it was a 1,000-page bill called the Clean Future Act in March. Literally 1,000 pages. So is the version that went into the infrastructure bill your preferred version of your Clean Future Act, or are you still holding on to that with promise of future passage?
Both.
Okay.
In other words, the Clean Future Act is basically addresses most of what we need to do to deal with the climate change problem, right, and reduce greenhouse gases. I don't know that I can get it passed in the House or Senate the way it is because it's pretty progressive, right? But we're trying to include as much of it as we can in these infrastructure and budget bills. The Senate bill is not as good as the House infrastructure bill. But again, we're going to try to negotiate this and get in as much as possible of the Clean Future Act.
And the infrastructure version in the House, I mean, we've heard all about the bipartisan negotiations on the Senate side. Only 2 Republicans, including Congressman Chris Smith from New Jersey, voted for the House version of the infrastructure bill. What do you attribute that to?
Well, first of all, you understand that our bill, as I said, is much more aggressive in addressing climate change and trying to set up charging stations and in moving towards a clean economy that's not dependent on gasoline and oil. And a lot of the Republicans don't want to deal with that. Some of them don't even believe that climate change is real or that it's human-induced. We also have major provisions in the House bill to address water. So, for example, there's like a $45 billion to get rid of lead in our water pipes, right? The Senate bipartisan bill has a lot less money for that. So it's also a question of the amount of money for a lot of these things. But remember, too, and I mention it because today is significant in the sense that President Biden is going to make an announcement later today. I guess I'm kind of giving you a preview here.
It's okay. This airs later. This airs on the weekend. So you're not preempting the president. I'll put your mind at ease.
Well, he's going to be announcing an effort, because remember, some of this can also be done by executive order by the president, right? So like I say, when I talk about the Clean Future Act, executive order, bipartisan, partisan, whatever. I mean, I don't care. I just want to get it done, right? So he's actually saying that he wants to have 50% of the cars be electric by 2030. He's also going to announce some significant fuel efficiency standards so that, that we can have less dependence on fossil fuels for our vehicles, but at the same time, when gasoline is used, that it's more efficient, you get more miles per gallon, that type of thing. So all this kind of dovetails in an effort to move forward. Also, states are doing things as well.